Okay, brother, would you open us with a word of prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and your many blessings. And Father, we thank you that you gave us this opportunity to come together and to study your word and just to be together in fellowship with one another. And Father, we ask your blessing to be upon the service tonight, that it be of honor and glory to you. And Father, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And also ask a special blessing on the ones that have been doing most of the work here.
Absolutely.
I think Gary and Matt's probably been doing the lion's share, and of course John's
in here now.
We appreciate y'all doing that, and it looks like it's going to be ready in time for the revival. So we appreciate that. All of us do. And the subject was about trust. And there's a lot of places in the Old Testament and the New Testament that talks about trust. And over here in there's too many to mention, but over here in Job 4:18, it says, "Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly." As soon as I can get this page to turn, over here in Psalm 18, verses 1 and 2, it says, "I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock." If I can get this page to turn, I'll read this second one here. "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower." And then over here in Psalms chapter 20, verse 7, it says, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God." And basically what all that is coming to is don't trust a man, because a man will mess up on you. But God won't. He'll never forsake you. And then over here in John, it's going to talk about something that a lot of people know about and recognize pretty quick. John 18, verses 25 through 27. It says, "And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou also one of his disciples? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, saith, Did not I see thee in the garden with him? Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew." He was remembering what Jesus said about he's going to deny him 3 times before the cock crowed. Now, a lot of people would, as humans, we would be pretty mad at him. We'd be saying, well, I put my trust in this guy. I mean, sure, he cut off a guy's ear. I still say that he was aiming at the middle of his head, and old boy ducked right at the last. And so, yeah, he was going to take care of him, but then he did deny him 3 times. But over here in Mark chapter 16, it says, in verse 1 and going on, "And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and Salome had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him," talking about Jesus. "And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. And they said among themselves, Who shall roll us away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very great. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were affrighted. And he saith unto them, Be not affrighted, you seek Jesus of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen, he is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. And this right here is the most important part about this as far as trust. But go your way, tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee, there shall you see him as he said unto you. Now, Peter was one of the disciples, right? Why does it say the disciples and Peter? Because he wanted to make sure Peter was there. Peter felt bad. He took off running when he heard that cock crow when he denied him the third time. He was feeling pretty bad about himself and the way he did that. He said a couple of times things like, oh, you might have to worry about some of these other old boys, but I'll always be by your side. And then he denied him 3 times. Of course, he was supposed to, but he didn't know that. Jesus didn't want him getting killed because he wanted him for a mission that was very important to him. And when he did this, and he got them all in there, it says he breathed on them, and they got the Holy Ghost. When he appeared in the upper room with them, where they was hiding from the Jews, because they was scared. They thought, boy, them Jews fixing to come in here and kill us just like they did Jesus. And Jesus said, if they'll do it to me, they'll do it to you. So they was like, oh boy, this ain't gonna turn out good. There's a song I really like about that. David Phelps sings it. It's called He's Alive. He pretty well tells the story from Peter's standpoint, in that he says, oh, it'll never be the same. But it was. Jesus still loved him, and he still needed him to do a job, and he went out and did it when he got the chance. The most important thing about this is Jesus forgives, and we need to forgive people. We don't need to hold it over their head because they did something stupid. I don't know about y'all, but I can speak for myself. I've done lots of stupid things. I've done things that I shouldn't have done, things that, like Peter, everybody's like, oh, you're going to do this? Oh, no, not me, But then I fell off, you know what I mean? You can't expect people to do what you want them to, because we are people, and we're gonna fail you. God won't, but we will. And there's a couple of things that I thought of this the other day. I'm guessing whoever wrote this was probably thinking about, what if somebody cheats on you when you're married? The main thing to remember, the way to avoid that happening, is for one, you to be a Christian. I don't mean a pew warmer, I mean a Christian. And you need to marry a Christian. I was unequally yoked at first. I was down here, she was up here. Then after a while, we traded places. You can't do that. You have to both be the same. That's the only way this is really going to work, because it's easier to pull somebody down than it is to pick them up. And this I got at 2:30 this morning. This is not from the Bible, but I guarantee you it's from God, because I'd have never thought of this. I don't know if y'all have seen these ads here lately about selling your life insurance policy. It's called 1877 Sell Easy, I think, where they try to get you to sell them your insurance policy. They'll give you a little bit of the money, I'm sure it's about 25% or less, of the money that you've paid in to your life insurance policy all these years. But they'll give you about 20, like I say, probably about 25% of the money that you spend on this. And then when you die, they get the whole schmear. You know, it's kind of like those home loans, I can't remember, reverse mortgages. And one thing always got me about those, it says, you can get this money and you can spend it on traveling. You can use it to fix up your house. And I was like, whose house?
No, not yours no more.
Yeah. I wouldn't spend a dime on it. I wouldn't care, as long as it's not messing me up some way, I'm not going to spend any money on it because it don't belong to me no more. But anyway, this thing here, I thought about this. If you've been married for a while, you have put a lot into this relationship, just like spending money on that life insurance policy. You've got a lot invested in your relationship. Why would you want to mess that up? Why would you trade all of this big pile of time and money and love and everything that you've invested in this relationship and trade it somebody over here ain't got a dime's worth of it in you? We need to stay faithful to our spouses. If you've already messed up, you just ask God for forgiveness. Everybody says, well, you need to forgive and forget. I don't know about y'all, but I ain't forgot much of nothing that somebody's done to me. I might have forgiven them, but I ain't forgot it.
How can you do one without the other, though?
Well,
Really forgive them.
This is what I've told people. The way to forgive somebody is to pray for them. I've tried everything else in the world. None of it ever worked. I've said, well, I'll just try to let that go and blah, blah, blah. I had to pray for her. That's the only way I was able to forgive her. I'm a human. I can't forget. And it's just like people say, well, I forgot old so-and-so over there. Well, say you loaned them money, and they said, I'll catch you next Friday. Well, next Friday, next Friday, next Friday, next Friday. And after a while, you figure out they ain't never going to pay you back. And I mean, some of your kin folks will do this to you. A lot of times they're worse than strangers, to be honest with you. But here's the
My daddy
thing.
always told me, if you loan somebody money, don't expect to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've told Beth.
How can a poor man borrow money pay you back?
You tell them it's a loan, but you treat it like it's a gift,
Yeah.
because odds are good you ain't gonna get it back. That way you're not mad at them. But on the other hand, somebody borrows $10 from you and they don't pay it back, and then a year from now they come up to you and they go, yeah, I need to borrow $100. You go, really? Yeah. Where's the bank? Right down there on the corner. I ain't loaning them no money. And I've loaned my kids money and they always pay me back because they know how I am. If you don't pay me back, don't come to me again. And that's because I am a human. I remember those things. And
Where
so,
that trust comes in.
pardon?
Where that trust comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust the right person,
And if you let them,
But we're supposed to be talking about having broken trust, though, right?
broken trust.
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. If they have,
Somebody money to.
if they have,
It's not paying you back is the.
yeah, if they have broken that trust, pray for them. That's the best thing you can do. You can't forget all about it, because it's just like, if somebody comes up and they slap you for no apparent reason, and you're like, what was that about? Well, you ought to know, and they just walk off. And they come up 2 years later, you ain't seen them in the meantime, and they come walking up to you, and they go back like this, are you gonna go, what did he do last time?
Yep.
You're gonna duck.
So I can do that, I can just.
See what you're doing?
But, yeah,
You gotta pass
but
the
that's,
plate around again.
but that's the thing, you're still gonna remember it, but just don't let it eat at you. Cause hate is like cancer. It can only kill the one that's carrying it around.
Especially my grandkids, because their generation is awful. They're just an awful bunch of folks, and because they're just me. I'm entitled. Give me, you know.
That's
And
That's-
I don't do,
That's rampant. Of course, people, the generations have been going downhill since a long time.
Well, and it's like the money, it's not necessarily money, it's anything, you know, I
Oh, yeah.
trust you.
Yes.
You tell me you do this, so I trust you're gonna do it, and you don't do it. Okay, we're good, but I won't ever ask you to do it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
But
just
if
like,
you wanna come clean my yard and make some money, what you really want is the money.
And not do
And
work.
you want me to clean my own yard,
Right.
you know, so no, that dog don't hunt.
well, it's like when Jesus was talking about, guy had 2 sons, wanted them to go out to the vineyard. One of them said, oh yeah, I'll do that. And then he didn't. And the other one said, I'm not going to, but he did. Which one are you gonna ask to do something next time?
Yeah, you don't know.
Well, the one that said, I ain't going to, but he did, yeah, you can probably count on him. The one that just run his mouth, oh yeah, I'll be right there, boy, you can count on me. And then he goes off somewhere and hides, he ain't gonna do it. But,
A really wise person told me one time, it was a pastor I had at one time. And I had a lot of respect for this man. He told me one time, we was talking about kind of this sort of thing, trusting people, you know. And he said his experience as a pastor going to church, and then you go to this church, and you go to that. The first person to pat you on the back is the first person that's gonna stick a knife in it.
unfortunately, that happens a lot.
Kinda stuck with you, huh?
That has stuck with me over the years, and I have found it to be very true.
Well, it's
The
just like,
person that jumps out there and just gung-ho loves you is gonna be stomping on you next week.
when I was a kid, we moved.
Preacher's shaking his head, so I
We-
guess he can relate
We,
to that.
we
I
moved,
have.
we moved all over the place, and so I learned from this type of deal. And I told my kids, cause I moved them several times while they were still in school. I said, when you go to a new school, the first person that comes up and says, hi, how you doing? I wanna be your friend, blah, 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 blah. There's a reason for that, cause everybody else knows them. They don't want them as their friend. So, you gotta sit back and watch. And,
I had sort of a question or comment or whatever you want to call it. I always wondered if you truly forgive someone, say you had a real good friend and they did something to you and you feel like you've forgiven them in your heart, but you don't have nothing to do with them anymore. Do you truly forgive them if you don't want to have anything to do with them anymore?
that's a tough one,
I
cause,
think you can. I think to not having to do with them anymore is just, you burnt me and,
God
I
says,
burnt
listen
me
to the
twice.
law and study the
I
sword.
mean, I'll forgive you, but,
They may not have to be back in that same situation with you.
right,
That's right.
that don't mean I'm on.
you will have that trust issue.
Well, that's what
It
the
is
old
strong.
preacher back in Gatesville told me. He said, you can forgive forgive somebody, that doesn't mean you wanna run with them no more. You know,
Like
say,
what preacher says this
Love 'em
all
like
the
that.
time.
Yeah.
Love 'em like this.
Uh-huh.
yeah, he said there's people, okay, so you have a good friend and she has an affair with your husband, okay, you forgave your husband, you forgave her, but you don't wanna be friends with her no more.
Exactly.
Or
I
the
mean,
husband.
And if she shows up at my house, I'm probably gonna box her jaws.
You know,
Speaking from the women's standpoint. But,
Well, I'm here to tell you, broken trust, cause let me tell you something, I wasted 25 years of my life, I can't say wasted, because I have two beautiful children and grandchildren over it. A broken trust with me, by myself, could not be mended. Period. No matter what I did, I cannot go back there. You understand? It's like going back, jumping back in the flames. You know what I'm saying? So it's called moving on, is how you get that out of your system.
yeah, and I do believe that when you pray for them, that God makes you get peace about it in your heart.
But see, they look down on people like me because, oh, he's been divorced, oh, he's been divorced.
Oh,
But
there's
sit
lots
back here,
of people.
I can teach people something about my mistakes that I made that you don't wanna make. I can
well,
see
my
you
God,
coming.
you're in the majority by being divorced.
Right.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
a lot of
Sure
divorce
are.
and a lot of people have made bad mistakes.
It's better than marriage now.
They can tell about it.
There's
Yeah,
more people
my
divorced than
grand,
married.
one of my granddaughters, it was a senior this year, and she said kids, they didn't really make fun of her, but they kinda was like, you know, wow, your parents are still married, you know? For
Samantha
20
got
years,
that
they're
when she
still
was-
together.
Samantha got that when she was in school, because
Mhm.
everybody around her was divorced.
Yeah,
And their thing, these other kids' saying was, well, I feel sorry for you, I get 3 Christmases, you know?
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Stuff like that.
That sounds about right.
And
Yeah,
my-
that's
and
good.
Gracie was like, you know what, I feel sorry for you.
yeah, that's pretty sad when they're bragging about that. Of course,
so
you know,
common.
kids look at things different than adults do. My youngest son, when unfortunately for him, I overheard this conversation. He was talking to his sister, and I think he was in the 3rd grade maybe, and she said, "Nathan, you still believe in Santa?" He said, "No, but don't tell Mom and Dad I get an extra Christmas present."
Yep.
That's bad.
So, yeah, they do look at things different.
Is that wrong for me not to be able to, things like that? I mean, as I'm supposed to be walking the straight and narrow, and I think that way. Broken trust is broken trust, yeah, but,
Well, I mean, you know that not to go
How am I
back in
thinking
that
wrong?
situation.
Huh?
I think
Well, that's
you are.
what he's so mad that
You love them from a distance, and I mean, you know if you go back in that situation, it's not gonna be good for you. So, no, I don't
It's-
think it's.
Well, you know, it's
You know
it's just like,
over, but you need, like you said, you need to move on, so you just ask God to give you peace in your heart about it, it's over,
well, see.
and
let-
don't
let-
carry hate
Let me explain
and
something to you.
anger about
Let me explain something to you. I did move on. I'm married again. Lasted 2 minutes again. Same exact thing.
well,
There's 2 broken.
like I
All right,
said,
so we can get deeper, guys, alright?
like I said, the way to avoid that is you be a Christian
married
and you
again.
marry a Christian.
Don't get married again.
Well, that's fine too.
Yep, I have
I
a
don't-
nice day.
Don't bother me none. I'll tell you a secret that a lot of people don't understand. The biggest problem we have as far as marriages staying together and stuff these days is microwaves. You know, you meet somebody, you want them right now, and then later on when they do something to make you mad, you want them gone right now, instead of working at it. So,
kids today get married thinking, I'll get divorced if it don't work.
Exactly.
well, I heard something years and years ago that I found to be true. Men fall in love through their eyes, and women fall in love through their ears. If a man talks a good game, she's probably gonna be okay with him. If, as long as the woman looks good, the man's gonna be okay with it. And you need to
And
pay
deals a lot
attention.
more that he wouldn't usually deal with.
You need to pay attention to what is going on, not just what they're saying. Like you say, somebody comes up to you and you tell them, well, I'll buy you a brand new car if you go out with me, and then you don't buy them any kind of a car, but it's too late now, because you've already drug this out long enough where you're married now. Now you're in trouble.
The problem is, there's not no real true courting anymore. The date is to hop in the sack. The date is supposed to be getting to know each other.
That's-
the days that shepherd
That's
wants.
what the
That's where it
the-
ought to be, even though
that's
it's
what
wrong.
the
Here's a problem there. No problem. Okay.
that's what
Hey,
the
right there.
that's what the
The only
engagement is for, getting to know one another.
They don't go out no more. Try to take
Don't
that off.
just listen to them, pay attention. And it's like I've told people, if you go out with a guy to a restaurant and he's mean to the waitress, guess what? He's going to be mean to you too. So you need to pay attention to what they're doing, not just what they're saying. So, anybody else got anything? Guess not.
Okay, where does preacher man go?
Wait a minute.
I said, okay, what's preacher man
Yep.
go?
So what does it mean if you trust somebody, but you can't be around them no more? If you have been wronged by somebody and you can't be around them anymore. I think our society is full of that right now. The last thing I'd ever ask as a pastor or as a person, if a person has a drug issue, they got into a bad situation with drugs, they got their life right, the last thing I would want that person doing is to go over and to counsel with drug addicts. Now, he has a lot of good information, and he has the directions and everything, but you're throwing him back into a situation that he could fail at. I have probably, had more people as a pastor asked to go into those situations, because I was there. I've been there before. I know that. I can help them. And at first it sounded great, but later on, you found how many people failed over and over and over. So trust is something, just to kind of finish up touching on that one, trust is something that, yes, it has to be earned, in a lot of ways, especially after it's broken. Trust is given at first, but after it's broken, it's got to be earned. It's got to be earned back. And do you ever get over it?
It's in your memory bank.
It is in your memory bank, but there is a place in your life that you can let it go. Don't say that you don't remember it. You can't forget it. I think that we're incapable of forgetting. Unless a disease hits us of some shape, form, or fashion, but still yet, you don't always harbor that. You don't hang on to it. Somebody owes you $10 and you remember they owe you $10 and they owed it to you for the last 10 years, and you say that you have forgiven them for it. Every time you see them at Walmart, you don't chase them down and say, hey, you got money to spend here, why don't you pay me my $10 back?
Remember that?
Yeah.
You don't do that. Now, in your brain and in your human nature, you might be saying that. But the question is, when you forgive, what do you do with it? I'm going to sew it up in a real simple way. You got to give it to God because you're incapable.
Yeah.
We are incapable. Yeah. To be able to totally mark it off. How can we show the example of trust built back? I've said this of many a times counseling a husband and wife for that situation that you was talking about. You gotta fake it until you can make it. Yeah. Yeah. If she messed up on you, does it make it, do you really trust her if he puts a bug on your car? Or a tracker in your telephone? Is there really trust in that? But the truth is, are you kind of smart for doing it that way? Yeah.
If you want more trouble, yeah.
Yeah. God is the only one. God is the only one that can let it go. We have a problem. And that's the reason y'all have heard me preach it many times. We gotta love them. But sometimes we love them like that. Yeah, pray for them. Yeah, but I also don't think God says, well, they messed you up the last 10 times you helped them. I'll just go ahead and help them again. It's all right. Sometimes he does call you to do that. I remember one time he put me over in one of my little situations. I was in such a big hurry and I seen somebody that I really disliked sitting on the side of the road with a flag. I sped on by and laughed. I'm just gonna be honest. Ha! Serves her right. And God slapped me in the back of the head and says, you go back and help her. And I would love to say I went back and said, I just was driving by. No, it was more like, open the trunk. Let's get your tire on the ground. Bye. But I helped. I made the step. Did I do it begrudgingly? Yeah, I had no choice because of what I had left in my brain. But I did make the step. And that's why I say that fake it until we can make it on some things. Some things we should just let go of. If the little lady didn't turn the corn labels the right way in the cabinet, is that right for a husband to be 3 kinds of mad about? No. No.
Especially if you can't read.
I said that at another sermon. I said that at another location. A little lady caught me after church and says, he wouldn't have to worry about that no more. I said, why is that? And she said, I would have knocked every eyeball he's got out of his head with every corn can I got. He wouldn't be able to see nothing. I'm like, okay, yeah, but anyway. So forgiveness is something that it has to grow. And it has to be through God.
If you ever live through a situation like that, you get a whole new understanding. And I did. I had a friend, and we were friends for many years. And something happened in her family. I had some information about it. And I felt like, well, she needs to know what's going on. Well, guess what? She didn't want to hear it.
Yep.
Yeah, and you was the bad person. You was the one that brought it.
I got a cousin like I ain't never had. Then I got mad. I handled it very badly. It was just, and I mean, that was instant. I thought, well, I'll never talk to this girl again, ever. And years went by. And one day out of the blue, she called me. and it's like it never happened. Both of us, I guess, have matured, we forgive, we forgot, we're back to being really good friends now, and it's,
And a lot of times it is a maturity thing.
there is that little thing, I said this, I told Gary, it'll never be exactly like it was,
Can't be.
but, all them years later, we can both see, we have both talked about how we both handled it so badly. And if we'd have put God in the middle of it instead of,
What everybody else said.
well, she got what she deserved, and,
Yep.
and
And a lot of times we listen to everybody else, what makes the problem way worse. Way worse.
Can I add to that? I was struggling with alcohol and drugs myself all through my life. I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I trusted in God, and let me tell you how He earned mine. All of my friends, I failed several times in school, or I never had no, what you call friends from school, because I failed and they go ahead, I fail again, they go ahead, okay, so keep going. Every time I go back to Texas and get upset about my spiritual beings, wherever I was being, I go back there and do what my flesh wanted to do.
Yep.
But every time I went back, my friends were gone, dead, God had taken one of them.
Yep.
And over the years, another. Sometimes I get choked up when I say about this. But I can go back today and there's not one friend left.
Yep.
Why? You see that trust thing there, like, all right, well, now I can go. When I told you He'd done something to me this time, well, He did.
Yep.
All right, well, He showed me, you could be one of them people that they're talking about.
Yep.
But He showed me to be, there's not one friend that I went to school with alive that I had anything to do with.
Yep.
Just about all of them.
So thinking of it on God's side and my side,
Yep.
that's all I have to trust.
That's right.
The rest of it falls in place afterwards.
Yep.
Once you get His trust, saying, okay, John, are you gonna do this again to me? Like He hadn't already thumped me
Yep.
out, already.
Yeah. So trust is something that God's got to give. Got to give us the ability to be able to do. That's the reason that, like Brother Johnny was preaching and teaching, prayer is the answer to where your trust is at. And I'm not talking about just a prayer. Earnestly seeking the Lord. I've got people in my life, I've got people in my family that the Lord deals with me in a way that I don't need to deal with Him. Yeah. Do I hate them? Absolutely not. Do I love them? Yeah, I love them like that. But I'm not going to go down that road with them again. Yeah, because of where it will take me. Because God knows about my anger issues. That's why He made me do that class on anger. But He knows me.
I only felt
Yeah.
love once in my life, and that's when Jesus Christ touched me. I don't know what love is.
Yeah.
Besides that.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have that feeling every day.
Might be surprised where you'll find it at.
Yeah, and another youngster.
Yeah. Now, you might be surprised how much love might be around you that you're not looking at. Because I went through that burnt stage.
Yes, sir.
I know where it was. I know, and I was the same way. It won't hang on forever. Yes. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into a quick little message. We're going to get out of here kind of early tonight. I'm going to look at Mark, the 4th chapter. And this is where God led me to deal with. And the 4th chapter, the 21st verse, and it's a parable, of course. This is where Jesus had several parables that He was sharing. And this is probably one of my favorite parables, if you will, because it is so simple, and it's one that we sing about and dealt with a lot. The 4th chapter, the 21st verse. He said unto them, let everybody get your page turned, the 21st verse, 4th chapter, and He said unto them, it is a candle brought brought to be put under a bushel or under a bed, and not to be set on a candlestick. For there is nothing hid which shall not be manifest, neither was anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad. If any man has ears, let him hear. All right, what is Jesus saying right here? It's a parable, of course. One thing he's telling us, it's not right for us to hide ourselves. I get so tickled at hearing the little people that are preppers and stuff and what they're going to do whenever all this stuff happens and everything. And, you know, and I hate to say it, I got caught up in that little game once or twice, you know, and I'm not saying that we don't need to have some sort of way to live, but to go run and hide has never been what Jesus told us to do. Never. He also didn't tell us that we need to go and thump all the heads in the county and make everybody work right. He said to live as a representative for him and who he is. Yeah, I remember one little lady that I remember so well, and her name was Miss Jackson. She lived right down the road from me as I was growing up. And this one night I went out, and you know, as a kid, we went out spotlighting, trying to shoot rabbits or something, you know. And anyway, well, the last place that I rode around half the night and didn't find a rabbit. Well, there was a rabbit in Miss Jackson's front yard. I shot the rabbit and, you know, snuck around there to get the rabbit. Of course, all the lights come on in the house and everything. You know, you're in the country and you're shooting a gun out in somebody's front yard in the middle of the night. Guess what? You're probably going to wake folks up. Yeah. Well, I'm a kid and I slip around there and I get the rabbit and everything. Well, take it home. And like I said, Dad, Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, they didn't have internet, they didn't have text, they barely had telephones. But before I got up the next morning, everybody in my family knew that I'd shot this rabbit in Miss Jackson's house. And scared little Miss Jackson about half to death shooting a gun in the middle of the night. Well, later, and for the one time in my life, everybody chewed me out, but they didn't make me go back to Miss Jackson. Confused me. Eventually, the guilt grew so strong on me that I had to go back and tell her I was sorry for messing up. I will share that story to share this with you, that if we have our light, if we have our Christian light, if we are living our lives the way we should be living our lives, the conviction of the Lord is going to come upon us eventually. Maybe not right now, but eventually it's going to come upon us and we're going to go do the right thing. At that point, and I don't know how Miss Jackson knew I was going to do this. I remember the day well. I didn't really want to go tell her. Later on, I found out it was not just a rabbit, it was her pet.
Oh.
Yeah. And it made matters 100 times worse. But I showed up at Miss Jackson's house, head down, walked up into her house, and she said, James, she says, everything okay? I said, no, Miss Jackson, it's not. I killed your rabbit. She says, you know, I really loved that rabbit. That rabbit jumped up to me. Mama left it or something. Anyway, I don't remember the whole story of all that. But she told me about it growing up with her and how she caught it and everything, and how that, you know, it got to where it just come up her to her and she'd pet it and she'd love on it. And after her husband had died, that rabbit just kind of showed up. And it was a good little friend to her, you know, and all this, that, and the other. And, you know, and I hadn't told her nothing about it. Yeah, about that tall. And then after it was over with and all that, I remember the little old lady looking at me. I wanted her to look at me like I hate you, or I want to hit you, or I want to shoot you, or something. She says, but you know, that's a rabbit. She said, let's have a cookie now. Yeah, there's no words to how I felt when I left that place. I mean, yeah, but I can guarantee you this. I absolutely never took the risk of shooting another animal in somebody's yard. Yeah, you had no clue. Yeah, now if it's out in the woods and I was hunting, okay, it's a different ballgame. The reason I share that story is to share that we are judged, and the church is judged, and Jesus is judged by how we live our lives. How we live. That's how he is. And he's telling us the first thing, don't hide who you are. One of the teachers that I spoke with just this last year, another school district, not this one, said that she could not share her religious belief in the school that she worked for because it's anti-religious. You know, there's a separation. My question is then you wouldn't work for them also? That's what this is about. That's what Jesus is trying to teach. But he also teaches something else in this parable. He teaches, let me just read it. He says, for there is nothing hid which shall not be made or be manifested, neither was there anything kept secret that it should come abroad. In other words, God knows. God knows. And it amazes me how many times as a kid that my mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and all them knew that I did it. And how many times it's like, James, did you possibly knock that mailbox over for Bully Wilson? No. Now there's baby blue paint all over it. You're the only boy in town driving a baby blue truck. You got a new dent in the back quarter panel. What would have been easier for me to do? Yeah, I got sideways on that road there at Willie Wilson's house. You know, all of us kids like to gas it real hard when we go by there and sling a little gravel and stuff. And yeah, I got his mailbox. I'll go put it back up again. Yeah. But the world tells us that we are to lie about everything. Everything. Yeah. How do you play poker?
Bluff.
What is bluffing?
Lying.
Lying. Yeah. You want to have a happy marriage? Ask the world how to have a happy marriage.
Don't lie.
Huh?
Don't lie.
Yeah, but what will the world tell you?
Cheap.
They'll tell you to lie. Don't tell her. Don't tell him. Deny it. He wasn't there. She wasn't there. All those things. When the truth is, I was able to help so many more people that come in for counseling when they just laid it all out there. Most of those marriages survived. Most of them, not all. But the ones that held back didn't make it at all. With no chance. There's nothing that is happening in your life, my life, or in this world that God doesn't know about. So I got a question. when we do something and God gives us a conviction, you know who's giving you conviction. I do. I mean, I know who gives me the conviction. Usually it's that. It usually takes that for this dumb old country boy. But I know where the conviction comes from, so that means to me that God already knows about the problem that I had, or the lie that I said, or the thing that I done, or whatever it is. Why not fess up to it and get it gone? That's something as we mature as Christians, gets more and more and more, I don't want to say easier, but makes more sense. When I shot the rabbit, what would have been the best thing for me to do? Best thing for me to have done would probably have been had taken the rabbit, knocked on Miss Jackson's door because she was already up, and say, I made a mistake.
Did you know it was Rebecca?
Nope.
And
Did
how
not.
did you know?
Huh?
You see what I'm saying? You couldn't have told her because you didn't know.
But I know I shot a rabbit in her yard and I woke her up and I disturbed her.
Right.
No, the best thing you have done, not to have shot.
That's it. I shouldn't have done it. That's the right answer. But after it was done, I seen all the lights come on in the house. I knew I startled the old lady. I should have went to her. When I hit Bully Wilson's mailbox and knocked it down. Guess what? I should have went back to the house and got the postal diggers that night and went out there and put it back up. But I didn't. God already knows the problem. He already knows the issue in our lives. In my life, your life, all of our lives. We talk about politics a lot, not naming them in specifics, but we talk about them a lot. Do you think God don't know what we need for a new mayor in this town? We got 3 to choose from.
He's working on it.
What about a president? Does God know what we need? Yeah, I think he does. The problem is, I think,
I don't think.
too many Christians right now. I'll have to get the illustration on this. Too many Christians right now is doing exactly what that thing talks about in the beginning. We're walking around the world just like this, hoping we don't run over something or hit something. Don't look at me. I don't want to see you, and you don't want to see me. Yes, I stand for Jesus Christ, but you can't see who I am, because it may embarrass or it may hurt somebody's feelings. So I can raise my hands as long as you can't see who I am. I can shout out from the hilltops as long as you can't see who I am. As long as you can't see what I'm driving or see how I'm going. Or identify me so you can take me to court. But guess what? When you're doing this, what do you not do as a Christian? You can't see where you're going. You can't see where you're being led. So you're going to be tripping over stuff. You're going to be kicking things. You may even run into people. Is that the way God intended it to be?
No.
God said uncover yourself. Show yourself. He didn't tell us that we had to go shout and scream and yell and jump up and down, scream and holler and all this kind of stuff. But he did say, hey, I'm a blood-bought Christian. Jesus Christ died for my sins. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes when I grew up. I surely did. Thank God for the blood of Christ that he saved me. Do I still make mistakes? Absolutely. Every day. But you know what? I'm not going to go hide in the corner. I'll say as a pastor, it's the same thing I've said over and over, especially the last 2 weeks that God's working on this. Yeah, I mess up every day. The difference is I have a place to take my problem. I have a place to take my pain. I have a place to be able to go say, even if I don't go face Miss Jackson, and say, Lord, forgive me. I did something really bad. Forgive me. Knocking a mailbox over, those are little things. There's things that really do happen, big things. We was talking about cheating spouses a little while ago. Those things hurt. Trust me. I've lived it. Yeah. It's not a good place to be. The first thought in a man's mind, it's not the best thought.
I want to tell y'all, Madison came in this evening from work. She come out and pick up the little monster. She was a monster.
She was a monster today, huh?
And she said, well, I guess I made an enemy today. I said, well, what did you do? I mean, really? I just can't see you making anybody mad, you know? She said, well, you know, all of us girls, she works at Pine Federal Credit Union in Whitehall. She said, all of us girls up there, we talk about our churches and being Christians and this, that, and the other occasionally. And she said, I thought we were all pretty much on the same page. And she said, something was brought up today. And I can't remember now what she said. But she said it, you know, she said something about, hadn't y'all read Revelations about this, that, and the other?
Oh my
And
God.
she said this girl got up and stomped off and was mad. And I said, what did you do? She said, well, I found out she's a Jehovah's Witness.
Yep. Yep.
I said, well, don't you apologize
No.
for what you believe. She
No.
said, oh, I didn't.
Yeah, no, you
And
can't.
I'll tell her again if she wants to hear it, but
I could say her, I could hear her say
Yeah.
that.
she said, no, I'm not gonna apologize for it. She said, I just thought that was kind of childish of her
Mhm.
to just get up and walk in just cause you don't like what I believe.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Intimidated her.
Mm-hmm. Because the deal is,
Intimidated her.
huh?
Like being, like myself, on both sides, when you're truly saved, both sides of those will be taken care of differently.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna
Completely
say.
differently, you know what I
can't
mean, in
intimidate
yourself,
Madison.
Do what?
You
within
can't
yourself.
intimidate Madison.
Yeah,
She's gonna,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know?
Well, that's what this world is practicing, is to intimidate you to get,
Right,
reaction.
and I think that was meant to shut her down and shut her up. Well, it didn't work. You know, that ain't gonna work on her, but.
I remember, and I'll share this last story before I leave, or before we leave. I remember a guy I was having issues with just recently. Well, he found out where I was at, and he started going up through the driveway about 45, 50 mile an hour. Okay, I would love to say that I went out and said, I pray for you, brother. Yeah. No, the first day, I said, well, it's probably over with. Second day, it happened again, about dark 30, you know, all night long. Wow, 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 wow. The third morning, I got up and plowed a ditch across the road, trying to slow that down. Now, I'd like to say I just made a speed bump. No, it's a speed bump, all right. Well, that night, I heard, wow, bam, 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 all night long. You know, I mean, he just tearing the front end out of that vehicle. I'm like, okay. The last night, I'm tired of it. Yeah, he had a problem with me. I had a problem with him by now. So the last night, I heard him go through the first time, and I slipped around to the back porch over here and didn't turn the light on. You know, and I wear black all the time. You know, I mean, that's just who I am. I'm Johnny Cash's brother. No. But anyway, I heard him coming. I stood out in the middle of the road. Now, y'all know my little road at the RV park is not wide enough for you to go through if somebody stand in the middle of it. I stand in the middle of the road. He flew up there to me, flashed his lights, honked a horn, threw it in reverse, backed up. I never said nothing. He stood there. He run it up on me again, like he's gonna run me over, and I stood there. Kind of like I'm doing right now. He backed up, spun gravel, trying to sling gravel and everything. He run back up on me again. This time he turned the lights out. Yeah, try to intimidate me, try to scare me. But when he got to me, I did this. Put my hands back in my pocket. Now he done about 14 donuts trying to get away from me, but he never came back. Did you know that Christ, that you have in you, what he's trying to teach, the one that knows all, can also defend all, if you let him. Now, am I saying go and run out in the middle of the freeway or something and stand in front of you, slow people down? No, that was just how God dealt with me that night to deal with him. The first thought in my head was to get my pistol and put a few shots through the radiator. But that's the human thinking. Yeah. Don't hide who you are and understand that far greater is in you than is in this world. Even you. He's far greater than even you. And since he already knows you did it, he already knows you thinking it, he already knows everything there is about it, really, why do you want to hide it? I'm not saying share it with your neighbor. A lot of times your neighbor wants something to gossip about. We don't have confession no more. You know, the confession is directly with him. Give it to him and let him have it, and let your light shine to the world around you. Kind of goes along with our trust thing. Let it go and let God. If you can't let it go, fake it until you can make it. Yeah. It actually works. If you'll fake it until you can make it. Eventually you'll forget it. Not forget totally, but you'll not understand. Kind of like what you was talking about your friend. Yeah, you probably remember what the problem was and all that stuff, but it don't really mean as much as it did.
You know, it had to do with her child, which
Yeah.
is, I'm the same way, don't mess with my kids.
Yeah, mama bears.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all grown now, so.
Time.
My brother was,
Time.
one of my brothers was, with the woman, and, he did her wrong like he always does. She asked me one time, why didn't you say something? I said, 2 reasons. Number one, ain't my circus, ain't my monkeys. Second thing, and this really should have been the first one, you wouldn't listen anyway.
Mm-hmm. I didn't. Every relationship I was ever in. Yeah. And I, say this at the end of it. Every relationship that I was ever in, except for the one I'm in now, ended in adultery on the other side. Every one. Even the girlfriend stuff going through high school. Yeah, so I apologized to my wife before we ever married. I said, you got an awful big yardstick here I to hold up. I said, I'm so sorry, you're a little girl, but and she's like, you don't think that, I don't have to worry with that with me. Yeah, but that's a different culture, a different world. Yeah. So anyway, let your light shine. Know that God already knows. Then let the baggage go. And if you gotta fake it until you can do better. Because I promise you, God will give you the tools. He's already gave them to you. You just got to get smart enough to use them. Anybody want to add anything tonight before we close?
Need to pick.
We push that square button that says record.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you later, Chet.